I'm Shane Nyland, and my co host is Blake Musser. And these stories you're about to hear are from Weapons Company, 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines, 1st Marine Division, about the events surrounding and directly from the mouths of the people who were in Ramadi 2004.
So why don't you introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Justin Stadelman. Served with these two guys right here through boot camp of all
Yep.
Yeah.
right. I mean,
Oh yeah.
me and Shane were in the same boot camp platoon back in March of 2001. And I don't know, Blake, do you know? I can't remember what platoon you were in.
I was just next. I was across the way from you guys.
It was literally next door. Yeah, that we were sharing the same showers.
Yeah, so it's like we all served, we all served through boot camp. They went to SOI ITB together.
Yep.
And then we all got stationed 2-4. We all went to Weapons Company. Me and Blake went to 81s. I still remember that. Sergeant Pion came in, I think it was one day, right? We all kind of did a little, I talk about this at work because I work around a bunch of vets. Some Marines.
Yeah.
Some Marines definitely past the time that we were in. Talking about how ITB was a little different back then than what it is now. I think it was like an 0311 package for a while, and then we dropped into a weapons company.
Mm-hmm.
Remember doing our little what do you want to call it? Our dream sheet of MOSs, and I think
what was your dream sheet?
52 was mine, or so. Well, I wanted one of them, and then my name was called for 0341, which is. It was kind of a shock to begin with. I'm like, okay. And then I think Sergeant Pine came and talked to us. And then it was like, telling us how it's going to be a little bit once we get the weapons company, at least 81s. And that's where Blake ended up.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the SOI company first sergeant coming in and the ITB. And he's like, the 0311s are going to the big beach in the ocean. And then Weapons Company going right over the hill to 2-4. Remember all that? It's like
everybody went to 29 Palms, and half our squad bay went to 29 Palms. 3 people went to Hawaii, and then all the rest of us went to 2-4.
Yeah, I remember that. It was like I think it was like the ITB class before us. I think after us, the whole class went to Hawaii, and I think after us, I think went to Hawaii as well. But we all 2-4 needed a boot drop, and that's. We all went to Weapons Company.
You have to remember they were kind of struggling because they lost a couple guys because of a bug drugs.
Yeah,
they had a pop.
Right. That's right.
And so
huge,
they got
huge piss test where they caught people from every platoon.
A bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they had a backfill because they were already supposed to be gearing up to go for the next deployment.
Yeah.
Which we went on, but they were already supposed to be in the mix for getting SOC qualled.
Yeah.
And so
I remember that, and it was like, we're doing that for a while, and then we got our orders to 2-4, and I remember dropping some. I remember the few guys were reserves, went through their.
That's right. What was his name? Oh no, I was just I forgot about those reserve guys. And what was his name? That
Murky.
Didn't he have Didn't he have like an eye issue? What was that one guy that he was blind in one eye or whatever?
Yeah,
and it was like a big. It was like everybody knew that he was blind in one eye, but he was like, "Don't tell anybody because he'll get kicked out."
I'm like, how did you even get through boot camp? And
you talking about infantry school? Phillips. That was Phillips.
Phillips.
Okay. He was a D1 athlete and played college football. And all-star athlete. And half of the instructors knew him from college ball playing for Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's right.
They wanted his autograph. They didn't care that you couldn't see.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I remember that. And we get the orders, and all those reserve guys went home, and like, you lucky, and then we ended up getting boot dropped that, I think it was like a Friday, went over to 2-4, and
Yeah.
the rest is history, So
Yeah. That's awesome.
And then, the 9/11 happens, they still remember that reading some of that book. We were all in 2-4 on 9/11. A lot of those guys weren't.
Yeah.
That's the thing is, going through the whole like QRF thing for the whole battalion, and
Operation Noble Eagle.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, the Noble Eagle thing, and doing these like different levels of QRF, and you can leave the barracks if you're like at a certain level on QRF, and if you're at the highest level, you had to stay at the barracks, and it was just, and it finally got that mess over, and then we started to work up to go to Okinawa, and that shabacle, I tell those stories all the time, and it's like sometimes it goes over people's heads because it just weren't there at the time. Sometimes they can relate, sometimes you can't. So
the early 2000s was a wild time to be in the military in general, especially the Marine Corps, because our group was one of the first groups to get our McMap belt instead of the, like they changed that whole thing.
Yeah.
We were, and then when 9/11 happened, and I tell this story all the time, that a lot of people don't realize how many people took off. We had quite a few people from the battalion that ran across the border, did a bunch of drugs, came back and asked for a piss test because they didn't want to go to war or whatever.
Yeah.
And then while we were in, we saw them transition the from the Alice gear to the MOLLE system, and that whole debacle. We switched from Woodlands to the Digis. We, like I could go on, obviously, but we saw a huge transition, not just from peace. We joined in peace. We didn't have an enemy. We got through all of our schooling before there was a quote unquote bad guy, and I think it really changed. I know it changed my philosophical relationship to war fighting.
Yeah,
because I wasn't really angry. On it, and I know a lot of the guys that came afterwards. Boy, they had they did a lot of their fighting with a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah.
But I think that transition stuff really helped us. I mean, it was wild going to Bridgeport, obviously.
Yeah.
And then some of that had to do with how small we had gotten as a battalion.
Yeah.
Like they were just trying to send everybody they could to get geared back up. But getting over, did you end up going to any schools before, like individual division schools before we got sent over to Iraq?
I didn't. It was pretty much whenever, besides Humvee School,
Okay.
That was like, I remember when we first got to the, especially 81s. I don't know if you remember Corporal Ramirez. He was one of like the most senior Marines in the platoon. He chose he chose like 4 or 5 Marines, and he kind of picked me and a couple other Marines, and you're going to Humvee School. I'm like, what is this Humvee School? Right. And with the process, I got Humvee, and I was, through the, I think at one point you became, I think one of my, I think a vehicle commander when we were in Iraq, but it was like,
you were my driver a couple times over there.
Yeah. Being a Humvee driver, it was like a blessing, and it was a curse, especially over there. It was like every time we left Hurricane Point, it was sort of like, are we coming back in one piece? We just didn't know. Being so, the one thing I give us, being that because we're so mechanized, that I even feel like you don't want to feel sorry for any of us, because I think we all knew what we could possibly get ourselves into, but we definitely had it a lot better than the other line companies that would be mechanized, where Hurricane Point, where headquarters at. But being mobile, it was sort of like there's no hiding us. Once we went out those gates, it's like it's praying whatever God you pray to, and hopefully you came back in one piece. And when we got there, it was like driving in a regular Humvees, and you had that. I think we all, we talked about in that book, that makeshift armor that you had to bolt on the side of. Remember in Kuwait, bolting that stuff on the side of the Humvee, and then trying to hopefully you survive going in the middle of Ramadi when we finally got up armor Humvees.
Were you driving a high back, or were you driving when you got over to Ramadi? Were you driving a high back, or were you driving one of the enclosed Humvees with the 3/4 doors?
No, I was driving the open back, what you want to call it. It was
the high back.
The high back.
Yeah, I mean it was a converted high back. They took all the canvas off of it.
Yeah, and it was like, I drove that sucker from Camp Victory, Kuwait. I remember we did that huge convoy.
Yeah.
Through Camp Victory, driving up through Ramadi. I think it was you can.
Who did you drive with?
What's that?
Who did you drive up with?
You know what? I don't even remember now. Okay. I don't know who it was. But I think it was Minor, right? I think that's what his name was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a Minor, yeah.
I think him getting hit by an IED going up there. He's the one I remember. One of up in the just getting hit and talking about it. And his experience was it, and I don't think it really mentally prepared for you. Try to, and then when it happens to you, and it was like, kind of when it happened to me that first time going through Ramadi, it was sort of like everything went in slow motion. It just kind of time stopped, and then once it ended, it kind of picked it up again, and that's when I slammed on my brakes and looking over next to me, and Worth was holding his face, and it's like, what the crap? What had happened? That was, I think, a first week we actually started patrolling.
So that was March 20th when Worth got hit and got hit in the eye from the bike IED. I didn't realize you were driving past the bike IED. Yeah. Who else was in your truck then? You and Worth, and who else?
Gwizdak, Rocha was in that.
Okay.
Gwizdak was standing up. He was one of the machine gunners.
The gunners, yeah.
The gunners. He was standing up. Rocha was in the back. I can't remember who else. I just remember Rocha getting hit in the arm. Gwizdak kind of getting a little cut, but it was Worth. I looked over, and luckily he was wearing some Oakley sunglasses that pretty much saved his life. Saying if he wasn't wearing any eye protection, would have killed him. Just because of and then not having any, again, it was driving with our windshield.
Yeah.
And he went through it like hot butter, and it's like, and eventually, and again, the parts for it, but it was like, driving, it was really wild west, so. Talking about, I've been reading some of that book. I think it's Unrelenting.
Yeah.
Talking about the beginning of this, a lot of the Marines, us going to Okinawa, a lot of that whole shabacle, that part of 2-4, they went to Okinawa for those 11 months, and they came home, and then it wasn't even a workup. It was more like, thought we were doing something else, went to Bridgeport, and then we're told we're going to Habbaniyah, and then nope, not going to Habbaniyah. Yeah. And it was going to Ramadi, and it was like, what's this Ramadi place? What's this? What's this? What are these IEDs? I don't think we really even knew what IEDs were. Kind of knew a little bit, but I think as soon as we got there, found out pretty fast what IEDs were. So,
one of my more vivid memories is sitting in that. It was, I don't remember what classroom it was, but it was a slide deck about the IEDs, and telling us to do like a 200-foot offset for. Anyways, none of it held up, but it was
no. Yeah, we did all this. We started doing this workup for working Habbaniyah, right? Whatever, I think it was trap or whatever it was called.
Mm-hmm.
Right? These patrol guides we had, and it just went out the window finding out, guess what? You're not going there. You're going to Ramadi instead. And it was like, I remember when we got back from Okinawa, instead of maybe going to like 29 Palms or something, we ended up going to like Bridgeport for a month, which I don't know. It kind of made no sense. We did this rock climbing package thing. And then guess what? You're going.
That was crazy.
Yeah. For a month. And then all of a sudden, like, guess what you're doing? We're going to find out we're going to Iraq, which basically has really no mountains.
You saying you didn't use your mountain warfare training in your cold weather package while you were in Ramadi?
Well, I remember it was cold a little bit when we got there, but it only lasted
barely.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden it was just hot. And it was just like, now it's like survival mode when it comes to like just trying to stay cool. And that was like main game, was just trying to stay cool all the time. And it was, sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, but it is what it is. I think Blake can remember, I think our generators went out one night and we're trying to just stay cool. And we ended up going to like, I think it was like Blue Diamond, just to go to the chow over there just to get air conditioning.
Oh yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah, you're right. I remember we did load up. It was I remember Gunny got all pissed off that he was hot. It was we were on, it was like where was it, day QRF or whatever that we ran over there for, and he just like made up a mission just to get in the air conditioning.
I think a lot of us ended up in that little like gym that we had, and that wasn't working. And then we all came back, and then Gunny was like, "Yeah, we're going to Blue Diamond," and we over there. And finally, one of these Iraqi workers came in and finally got the generator to work that was working overtime anyways. It's like it was on life support, So yeah, fun.
That's right.
So, but anyhow,
that was I appreciate you launching right into that, man. That's exactly it. Do you remember how many times? Because I was talking to Nyland about this, that I kind of got pushed around kind of in a weird way due to what I was being asked to do in other capacities. But you and I drove together a couple times. And I remember. Yeah. No, we it had rained. You remember how it rained every once in a while over there? Kind of like torrential downpours.
Like, I just remember.
And anyway, so it was some sort of, we were going to go hit some house. It wasn't a full on, it wasn't going to be a full on thing. It was just us. And we went down some side road and we were going to go kind of cross country. And I remember we came off the road, and as soon as we hit it, I realized how much mud there was. And I remember looking over at you and I was like, do not slow down. Because and I was like, punch it.
Yeah, I remember.
And you did your best. I mean, there was nothing to do. I mean, it was so, and we just went straight down. And I remember it was hard. We couldn't get the doors open because the mud had gone up over the top of the doors, and we had to crawl out the back through the high back. And we ended up using the other trucks to pull it out and stuff like that. But I don't know if you remember that or not, but
very vaguely. I mean, like, I think right after we gotten hit by that IED, that first IED, we drove north. I think it was a combat outpost, and then we drove back to Hurricane Point, and then I think it was Gunny. I think was he a staff sergeant at the time before he became Gunny? I think he was a staff sergeant at the time, and
that's correct.
He asked me. I think we needed to go back out there because they had like another IED they needed to go check out or something. And he asked me if I was okay. And I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. Let's go back out. So I jumped in the Humvee and went right back out there in a different Humvee until they got the other windshield put in, that tan Humvee. It eventually stopped working. Because I think it was like a week later, we were like doing something. We're doing some sort of night operation, and we got hit by like a pipe bomb that was on the side of the road that went through the back end.
Forgot about that one. Yeah.
So it's like, it was kind of like, it seemed like it was kind of a target. I don't know if it was because it was tan or what, but
no, we oh man, didn't we call it like white lightning or something like that?
The pale horse.
There you go.
Pale horse.
That's right. We call it the pale horse.
Pale horse.
Good name for a tan vehicle, and when everybody else is driving green.
Yeah, the one that everybody used. And eventually we stopped using it. And one thing, it stopped working because it kept all the shrapnel kept taking, but it kept running. And then eventually, like, I think they finally figured out maybe we shouldn't be driving in an open in Humvees, and maybe we should also those other we got those other Humvees, and I mean we did the best we could with those too. You know, I think the insurgents started to get a little smarter with the explosives that they were setting up. You know,
were you the driver of that vehicle that didn't go in reverse?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you remember? Do you remember when we were just flying down Michigan, and it was at night, and I think they shot an RPG at us, and we already had gone through and I was the vehicle commander with you at that time, and you tried to. There wasn't enough room for you to whip it all the way around.
Yeah.
And I remember you got halfway done, and I was like, put it in reverse. And he's like, it doesn't go in reverse. And so I had to get everybody jump out of the back of the truck, run around to the front of it, push it back.
Yeah.
You pulled forward, but didn't pull forward far enough, and we had to have everybody push it again. And then we got it turned around enough, and I was like, get back in, because we had to get back to the element that got separated from because we got ambushed.
Doing Chinese fire drills in the middle of an ambush. That's
well,
that's Keystone Cop.
Yeah. Well, I remember we're like, I think it was one of the LAV units that was out there, and they had got hit by an IED, and I think we were either night QRF or night taskable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And we ended up going out there to try to like just set up security so they can take care of it. And I ran over some rebar because it was pitch dark.
Mm-hmm.
And McLeod, you know, Jamie.
Yeah.
He's at that time he's trying to help me. Like, we're both yelling at each other, trying to get this Humvee tire changed in the middle of like whatever time it was, the middle of Ramadi somewhere.
Yeah.
And where I just sweating in full gear trying to get a Humvee tire changed. I remember
that was June 7th when Mattis had his LAV convoy that was on Racetrack Road. They got hit by an IED.
Okay.
And then according to them, they were hit by small arms fire, and they fired everything, including the 25 mic on the top of the LAVs, and bugged out. And we responded with map 2, and then you guys responded, and we were out there, I don't know, trying to figure out whatever. My favorite part of the whole thing was that I was with a mortar platoon, and you guys never got to fire mortars, number one, which I find that hilarious. But number two,
is what it is. The whole collateral damage thing, you know.
Number two, someone else was firing 81's loom and bouncing it off the houses and almost killed you guys. I don't know if you remember that.
No, I don't remember that.
Oh,
I do distinctly because it was hilarious. I was like,
I was so livid.
I'm screaming over the radio, up, 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 and you're hitting people in houses.
Yeah. I mean, I do remember us doing, I wasn't part of the mission, but we did one illumination mission from the inside of Hurricane Point. I don't know if Blake, if you were like FDC doing it or not.
I didn't get to do that one.
I remember doing the one mission, and they picked out.
No, I was really bullshit because I was the FDC chief. They had pulled me to go. I think that was the night that the reason why you were doing it is because we were going to do a kick element. I had gotten pulled because I was a de facto guy to do the kick element for the fucking battalion or whatever.
Yeah.
And they had dropped me to Golf Company to help out with that. Yeah. And they asked for a loom when they were going to do the kick. And so somebody else ran the numbers and dropped. I was so bullshit.
Yeah. I remember, like, I think it was like, we're doing something out during the day, and they're dropping, I think, howitzer rounds, like 155 rounds around us out there doing security. I don't remember if you remember that.
I do. And actually it wasn't. So let me refresh your memory.
Okay.
What happened on that was that they had given Echo Company our mortars, and they were going to start the bug hunt by dropping HE, and they were using the wrong data, and they dropped a bunch of rounds on our head. I just remember curling up in a ball because I think you were on that berm with me. We were right next to each other because we were holding an outer cordon. And there was the road was raised up near some palm trees, and we were holding that to keep people back. And you and I were a response element on the other side of the berm.
Yeah.
And I remember those first couple rounds just thunk,
Yeah.
And I was like, I am going to die by mortar fire.
Yeah. From our own mortars.
Yeah. Yes. And this is a horrible way to go.
Yeah. I remember that. So it was like how close that fire was. And it was like, this is getting a little too close for comfort, but I
think that's also the time that guy ran our checkpoint. Do you remember this one?
No, I don't.
He came flying through at us, and the first element tried to slow him down, and he shot straight through it. And so we opened fire because we thought it was like we didn't know what was going on. And like every last one of us opened up on this guy and just shredded the truck. And it was me and Doc got up there first.
Oh, yeah.
And I started being like, what's going on? What's going on? This guy was just shot up and he was still alive. And he says in Arabic, but he said, I don't have any brakes. And I was like,
oh, okay.
Well, that sucks for you.
Yeah. Go to the Marine. Yeah.
I do remember that because we were on about 2 blocks away and heard you guys open up. And so we turned the tow sights and everything. Yeah. And we're just watching and we're like, what are they doing? They're just talking to him. Yeah. I don't know what's going on. But that was April 10th. That was the first bug hunt.
Yeah.
That was shortly after the guys with the big speakers, the human whatever teams that PSYOPs. We always called them PSYOPs.
PSYOPs. Yeah.
They weren't PSYOPs. Yeah. And they would go through and they were playing Rain in Blood by Slayer.
Yeah.
And then they played Let the Bodies Hit the Floor.
Yeah, I remember all that. Trying to get them.
Trying to get everybody rallied up, screaming over the mics.
Yeah. But real quick there, Shane, reading some of that book, I know I've had conversations with you through, Facebook about this book. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think, who was the other guy you were talking to through Facebook that you asked anybody if you had any?
I've reached out to all kind of people, but
there was somebody
Curtis Neal was the one that responded to me pretty immediately.
Yeah, so I got through. I haven't, I was on. My wife's from Oregon, so we just got back from Oregon yesterday, driving out there. So I got through about 170 pages, and there was a part that something happened. I think it was one of was it Morris they were talking about when Morris got hit by that
RPG,
but that RPG,
okay,
and. I don't know how true was that, like what you said to him, all that, because you said you had some issues with some of it was inaccurate or.
All right. So as far as for specifically about Morris, all of the things with Morris were very accurate because they had spoke to me. I spoke to Greg Zaroya about that part in the book.
Okay.
It sounds like he had also talked to Lieutenant J.D. Stevens, who was there at that time of that ambush, and got details from him. I believe he had some access to official reports, and so he took some information from that.
Okay.
And then as far as some of the stuff that happened at Combat Outpost, he did speak to some of the corpsmen and stuff. So a lot of that stuff all sounded very accurate. So I never had any issues with anything as far as accuracy of that particular encounter. No, specifically the parts that I found that I did not necessarily think it was inaccurate. I just felt that there was parts that were omitted. And I think you would probably also have seen this when you read the book. As far as mentioning all the platoons of Weapons Company, they never even mentioned one of the 81's platoons. It's just another Weapons Company platoon. Didn't even talk about who was in it or who led it. Or anything else. Gunny Cook's never mentioned at all, right? As a platoon commander, that's wild. You mentioned every other platoon commander, and they never mentioned Gunnery Sergeant Crutcher, who was the platoon commander of MAP 3.
Yeah.
That's unusual to me specifically. I found that unusual since he went to such painstaking detail. However, and this is, I've spoke to Blake now a lot about this, and we previously interviewed Jesse Jordan. I think taking away from other people's perspective, he was attached with Golf and Echo Company at Combat Outpost.
Okay.
And that was the story that he had the most information on and most wanted to tell. And I think he did a good job telling it.
Okay.
And he took over 2 years to gather all the information to write that book. So I think it just was a lot of information.
Okay. Gotcha. I mean, it mentions on one of the pages that, Worth was hit. And I'm like, wait a second, I was dry. I was right next to when he got hit.
Right.
It's like some of the stuff, and then it bounces around on during the battle. I don't know. I think Blake, we were on like bridge duty that during that period of time.
We were on camp guard. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Work at the Euphrates and the Overlook. And so our limited experience is just maybe hearing on the radio. I know, I think I went out on the last day. I happened to be back in one of our little barracks area, and then Gunny coming in saying, "Hey, I need people." I remember jumping out, going back out there the last day. But my experience with the whole Battle of Ramadi was just guard and listening through the radio and listening to the whole thing go on. And that was, trying to see, I don't know if have you read Joker 6 by Donovan Campbell?
Joker 1. Yeah.
Or Joker 1, whatever.
Joker 1 by Donovan Campbell. Yeah. Yes, I have. Yeah. Also a very good book.
Yep. I thought it was very good too. That was the first book I read about our time. And then that movie Warfare came out, and that really struck a chord with me. I don't know about it.
Yeah.
Seeing all these different war movies, and some of the older, that movie, because we were standing.
It's meant to be the 2006 Second Battle of Ramadi and the Navy SEAL engagement during it.
Yeah.
But they recreate a Ramadi street and a Ramadi house.
Yeah.
Perfectly. I looked over at I took my wife to that movie, and I said the same thing. I said, that's a perfect recreation. The only difference is they have a small mountain, and there's no small mountains that are anywhere near the city. But outside of that, it is an identical replica of a Ramadi house in a Ramadi neighborhood.
So I saw that movie a couple weeks ago, and it was like, it really, it kind of, even though that wasn't our battle, but it did strike it, kind of brought back a lot of stuff because we were there doing it a couple years prior. We hear a lot of stuff about that time in Ramadi too.
Yes.
From other people, and it's like, wow, it just didn't end with us, and unfortunately, it just kept going on and on and on and on.
That's an interesting point in that the experience was very much the same. I agree, especially watching Warfare. I felt that I could understand a lot of the same things, but something you just mentioned, that you were on camp guard during April 6th, and I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to ask you, I don't know what it was like to be up on those bridge posts because of my specific billet. I never went up on a bridge post. So do you mind describing what that was like? Because I don't know.
A lot of it was just hearing the stuff on the radios, seeing some of the tracer rounds, and it was just sitting and waiting, and hopefully waiting for something to come through. You never knew, because those bridge, especially the bridge that crossed Euphrates,
the northern bridge between
the northern bridge,
Blue Diamond and Hurricane Point.
Yeah, and it was just sitting there waiting. It was like, they say that combat is 90% boredom and 10% terror, and that was really how it was. And I was kind of just waiting to see something happen and listening on the road. That was my experience.
Now,
sitting up there and just seeing tracers and going on, and
what I remember now, I literally only walked up to the northern bridge post once. I never went up to the southern bridge post ever.
Yeah.
I remember from the northern bridge post, there was one of those experimental Cobra sites up there, so you could check distance and get automatic grids by just firing a laser, which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
And then did you have a clue from a javelin up there, or did you have a tow site up there?
It was a tow site. Okay. It was a tow site. So using the tow site, especially at night, watching thermals, watching the civilian population walk around at night, and what's this guy doing? Is he doing anything? That kind of thing. That came up later. That didn't come up right away. That came up, I don't know how long we were actually guarding those bridges before that actually came up, but that came up later. Before it was, I think we just had a pair of binos up there.
Oh,
some of it, just looking around, and the tow site came up later because of the thermal on it that we were able to use.
Oh yeah, that thermal was invaluable.
I never got up there myself. I was always on, just because I had radio protocols. I was always, when during during our down week, camp week or whatever. I was always in the company office
Same. I was in the company talk, or I was in the battalion headquarters, one or the other, and I never was out of either two of those.
How high up were, because I never even went up. Like how high up was that observation post on the bridges?
So the northern bridge, the main bridge, it's set up high enough to where you can, where people are driving or walking across it, mostly driving, you saw everything down into those vehicles. I mean, you saw a whole family driving around these little taxi pickups. Yeah. You know, it's like, how do you get 20 people in the back with a small Toyota pickup? They did it. You know, and it just, you saw everything. I mean, it was like everything. And it was like, hopefully you sat down to where they knew we were up there, but hopefully you were sitting down further down if something happens, like you're somewhat okay. So that was my only concern.
Didn't somebody get clipped by something up there? Didn't somebody in our I thought it was in our platoon that got hit with a stray round or whatever.
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember that one. So
yeah,
I just remember a couple guys getting in trouble launching off. I think it was like a 240 Golf, and gotten in trouble. They got in some like Iraqi whiskey and got drunk up there and launching rounds off, and they found out and they kind of hammered. I don't think they sent him back to the States, but I don't know what they did to him. I remember all that.
They were from my platoon. We retained one of them. One of them was one of our corpsmen, and one of them was one of our machine gunners. The corpsman and the machine gunner got court-martialed and sent back to the States and put in the brig. And the driver, since he did not fire any rounds, I'm not going to mention their names. I'll let them tell their stories if they get the chance, just because of the court-martial. But
that's fine.
But the driver specifically, he got to stay, and he stayed for the whole deployment.
Okay. Yeah, I remember hearing about it. I don't know what we were doing that day, but I just remember hearing the rumors about it. I don't think I was even around hearing the rounds, but just did you hear about such and such? We're like, no. Oh yeah, they were. I mean, yeah, the times that we had to rotate in, that was sort of like, you get a week of doing the guard duty, and it was sort of like you kind of get in a routine, and all of a sudden you're back down to like day taskful, night, or day QRF, night taskful, night QRF. And it was sort of like, now it's sort of like, spending a lot of time at the governor's center.
Yeah.
That whole thing, sitting out there and say, hey, they're going to attack it. And we're just sitting there all night and nothing, of course, luckily nothing ever happens, but yeah. So
I remember some early on, especially when we were trying to hand off to the Iraqi police, babysitting them a couple times, going out to I remember that one time we were out there for like 16 hours because they thought they were going to get attacked, and they wanted us to like back them up. And so we got sent out like it was a daytime. We were daytime taskable. So we went out and we just sat out there. And then we didn't get relieved because the nighttime taskable actually had a task.
Sure.
And so we were out there that was a long day.
Remember some of the events that happened, especially with Morse going out there at night. And I think the 3-4 stay platoon guys being killed up on that and going out there. I think Blake, if you remember that, taken up to Habanilla.
Oh yeah.
And taking the bodies up there. We did that a lot. If that didn't mess with you, taking these Marines that just died, taking them to what really bothered me was all of a sudden seeing that footage on CNN. Back from Habanilla, taking those guys to Al Assad, where I think that's where the morgue was. Coming back and seeing that video up on they showed their feet. I don't think they showed their whole body from what the footage, but seeing that footage on CNN was like, it really like, it kind of sticks with you,
No.
I think it was Contreras and a couple other guys,
Yeah, that was the June 21st snipers that got killed.
Yeah.
And their M40 was taken by the enemy and ended up being pain in everybody's butt for quite a while until 2-5 took that sniper down and got that weapon back.
Yeah.
Now, were you on the platoon that went up and helped do cleanup?
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
we weren't cleanup, but yeah.
You picked up the bodies and then took them to.
Yeah.
Did you go to Al Assad or did you go to Al Taqaddum? Al Taqaddum was the one that was out east of Habaniya, or did you head west to Al Assad?
I think it was Al Assad, Blake. I think so.
It could have been. I truly don't remember.
I'm pretty sure it was Al Assad. I remember because they had already put the guys in the body bags.
Yeah.
And then I remember then I was helping to load it into the back of the Humvee.
Yeah.
And then we took off. Yeah, I remember that was a somber one. That was that was not a fun
because but I think we knew, even though like we didn't really hang around a lot of those guys, but we did. I mean, I knew Contreras. I mean, I think a lot of us knew Contreras that was up there. I didn't think I know, like when McPherson got hit, like he was one of the first guys to get carried out.
He was very first,
Remember, like, I don't know so much hanging out with that guy, but I remember talking to him just in the battalion, even back on Pendleton, talking to that guy and finding out that he got injured and had to go back. And it's like,
me and Blake used to go out with McPherson in Okinawa and hang out with him all the time at the East Coast bar. I mean, he was one of my closest friends in Okinawa. I mean, truly. And that's
it's
that was crushing.
And then when we got back, it was starting to talk that there's a thing you can get out early. I don't know if they called it
school cut,
right? Blake, did you go on? Did you do that too? The school cut?
Nyland and I got out on the school cut.
We both did. Yep.
We were supposed to. Well, as you know, you had the same approximate EAS.
Yeah.
We got out in December, end of December instead of March.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what it's like a.
So how did that work out for you? Yeah.
So what happened with me was, I didn't take any leave during when we got back from Iraq. Well, I took the October off, or we all left, poof, like cockroaches in the wind. And then we got back, and I think it was Matroka or somebody was like, hey, there's this thing called school cut. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. The Marine Corps is not going to let you get out early and leave to go back to school, right? And sure, it was true. It started to put I swear that was harder to get out than ever was to ever enlist. Right? They wanted, for me, it was probably the same thing with you. They wanted to make sure you had classes. So when I got out, went back to, I remember I stayed through Thanksgiving, Christmas. I had a cousin lives in North Vegas. So I went up and stayed with him and then when December rolled around, I started to got all my stuff taken care of. I can't remember. It was I got out December 28th was my final EES, was December 28th, 2004. Okay. And I remember it. So I go to whatever S1. They took my meal card and they took my military ID. I'm like, all right. And I signed my D214. Of course, I didn't get it there. Right. I didn't get the D214. They had to be mailed to me. And this was during the weekend too. Right. I go back to those red roof rooms that we're staying in. And I think it was Diamond I talked to. Or I talked to somebody, I think it was Gunny at the time. It was Gunny Cook, a Friday. And Gunny Cook's like, I want you to stay through the weekend. I'm like, well, I can't eat the chow hall. I can't leave the base. I don't have my military ID anymore. So I'm like, all right. So I went and talked to Diamond. Diamond's like, I wouldn't stay. So I'm like, all right. So I packed up all my stuff and I drove to North Vegas to stay with my cousin through the holiday and drove into Colorado. And I think I knew halfway through my enlistment I wasn't going to make the Marine Corps. It just wasn't something that wasn't in me. Just do another occasional. I'll think about what my life would have been. Maybe got out of the infantry because I wasn't all right. I wasn't the greatest infantryman. I admit it. It's just the way it was. Maybe doing something else in the Marine Corps. I got out. I went to there's a community college up here, Northern Colorado. I went there for 8 months, close to that. Then I have a friend out here who, matter of fact, who was stationed on the Essex in the Navy at the same time we were on the Essex. Ended up hanging
Small
out
Marine
with him.
Corps.
Yeah.
Oh,
Small world for sure.
Extremely small. He's like, oh, there's a post academy, which is the police academy. I went through that, and then struggled to try to find. I don't know about you guys, but it was really when I got out, I don't think I was completely ready back for civilian life, and I really struggled with this trying to get back. And it
Oh no,
going through a couple jobs, I think really kind of messed with me because it was like I was so used to the structure, and all of a sudden you get out and it's like now you're on your own, right? Went through a couple jobs, tried to get work for a small police department up in northwestern Colorado, very small, and then came back down. At the time, I was dating my wife, who was living down here, and I graduated in 2010 with a bachelor's degree, which I thought I would never do in my life. During my inactive reserve, I'm like, hey, let's try this reserve thing out for a while. And Buckley Air Force Base, I lived by it, and there was a Marine Corps reserve unit, which was like a radar unit. Did it for a while, and I'm like, you know what? I'm done with it. I'm done.
I didn't know you went back in for a little bit.
I
did the reserves for a little bit. Finally picked up corporal.
Oh, nice.
So I did my reserve, ending my Marine Corps career as a corporal, not just a lance criminal. I was corporal.
Congratulations.
Graduated 2011 with my bachelor's degree, and I got my master's as well in criminal justice. All criminal justice.
It's awesome.
Wanted to go Fed, so I got hired in 2012, Federal Bureau of Prisons. So I worked there for 8.5 years as a federal correctional officer, and it was like to a point where I didn't want to deal with inmates and staff, so got hired by the U.S. Mint in Denver, and I've been there for 5 years. Now I'm a police sergeant, so I've been doing that for 5 years now. So it's like it's work after the for a while. I didn't know where it was going to go for me. If I had to go back in, because it just didn't know how civilian life was go, but it ended up working out for me. Being, I didn't know if I was even going to get married when I was. Now I'm married, have 2 kids, so it's like, it's worked out good for me than I thought it would ever work out. It's just one of those things where the Marine Corps taught me to kind of stick with the plan, get through it. And just go through it, and during that period of time, and I think I talked to you, Nylan, about it, and then being diagnosed with cancer.
Yes.
And there's one other, I forgot who the other person was that was also diagnosed with testicular cancer.
Yes.
I followed a PACT Act claim, and they just gave me an extra like $134 for missing a testicle, and that's all pretty much it.
That's what a testicle's worth, man. $134.
Yeah, right. They said that your cancer, the VA told me the cancer was caused by your service in the military, and that, went through that and been, cancer free for, 10 years now.
Congrats, so that's awesome.
So
now,
it's
specifically with that, did they tie your cancer to burn pits in Ramadi? Or, because we were literally right. Your hooch was probably the closest hooch to the burn pit, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
And there was burning ammunition and wood that was soaked in preservative chemicals and diesel fuel and lithium batteries and everything else under the sun, plastic of every sort.
Yeah, they didn't pinpoint it exactly what had caused it, because at first the PACT Act, the testicular cancer, reproductive cancers weren't on there.
Yeah,
and they added it on later on. When I finally saw it on there, I'm like, I'll file a claim, and they picked up the claim and like, well, you don't have cancer anymore, but we'll give you this for your trouble. So it's like, thanks
for your troubles.
Yeah, but like that's how I kind of feel. I have a 0% rating on it. It could have been the burn pits. That's what it is. I think it was from. I know one time, I think Blake can remember, we found some depleted uranium. Round. We
we found so much.
Right.
That was a crazy. I remember when we. That was a crazy. Who found that too? Like we were just driving around.
We were just driving around and we found it.
No, it was that we stopped. What was it? We stopped for some reason, and one of our guys got dismounted and went off to take a piss, and was like, "There's a bunch of ammo crates over here."
Yeah.
And we opened it up, and it was like 10,000 rounds of depleted, like
I don't think I know the story. Where was this at?
north of Nova. It was
on a dirt road, right?
It was off. It was
back
it
in
might have been
Ramadi, somewhere
across the
north of
river
Nova.
even.
Oh,
yeah, it was
so
somewhere
we
north
found
of
all
Rova.
kinds of stuff north of the river. And anytime we went north of the river, we found all kinds of stuff because that area just wasn't patrolled.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that, dude. Like,
yeah, I remember.
There was nothing, and it was nothing special. We literally stumbled upon it when we found it.
I remember, and it was that old Soviet like era boxes of ammo in metal where you had to take a can opener to open it. And remember bringing it all back into Hurricane Point and putting it in one area. And
we were messing around with those things too. Now looking back, just how stupid that was. We were just like, oh, look at these giant pieces of rounds.
Yeah, and it was all uranium, like whatever it was, and it could, and then driving out in the Ramadi, and and they burning their trash too, and with this inhaling all this stuff, and it's like it could very well have caused. That could have been all caused from that. It just.
Were you a part of the response team when that Connex box got hit and was burning?
No, I don't remember that.
Okay. That left a nasty taste in my mouth for like 2 days.
Yeah. I remember when we finally ended and handed, what was it? Was it 2-5 that we handed up? Because I know, Blake, you were kind of like helping the next battalion take over. You were part of that.
Nyland too. There was a bunch of key leaders that stayed back and helped transition.
And they got hit too. I think that the insurgents or whoever those guys were tested you guys, and remember a few of those guys getting hit over there, and you're part of that. And it's
I got wounded on the 11th real bad, and then Diaz got hit in the leg real bad at the government center on the 12th. And
I remember that.
Broke his femur from a mortar round.
Yeah. Yeah, because
that mortar round blew me off that ladder, and then I think Reeves got hurt up there too, but I don't think he got evac'd out.
Yeah, I think Diaz came later too for the platoon. He wasn't like, I think did he come to our platoon just before we got deployed?
He didn't. He wasn't a combat replacement. He came. Okay. Hell, I think he might have come. He came with that drop in Okinawa, like at the very end, kind of like when Jordan got dropped.
Yeah.
There was a bigger group that got dropped at that time.
Not just dropped. He was coming in as a sergeant. That wasn't just a boot drop. Like for him, they were coming in there as been around a little bit, just like Neil. I mean, he like in Hodges, and those guys that were in the Marine Corps previously.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And then we got a bunch of retreads that got dropped in the latter part of our Oki deployment.
Yeah.
So,
was Diaz in security forces? I don't remember where he came from. Where did he come from? Or the drill field or a recruiter?
I'm pretty sure he was a retread.
Okay.
Like, I don't know what his
sergeant too. That's surprising.
Yeah. If I remember his story correctly, and it's been too long, I haven't kept up with him. But
I just remember him showing up one day, going oh, we have a new sergeant. I'm like, okay, a new sergeant. It's like, when we first got to 81s, dealing with like Sergeant Pion and.
I like Diaz. He was a solid dude. He never. I never had an issue with him.
Yeah, I didn't have any issue with. He's a very kind of quiet guy,
competent.
I know Eskil was driving around with me in Ramadi a little bit. He was the guy next to me for a little bit. But
I was gonna say, who all was your vehicle commanders when you because I felt like we just moved. We never had like one solid team. Like I felt like we were just very it was kind of like almost whoever got into the truck was who was in that truck team that time.
When we got to Ramadi, it started, I think Worth was my first, and then after that I think Esquivel sat next to me, and then after that I can't remember. I know you at one point, I think when we finally we're in the hard shell foremans, you were one of my vehicle commanders, and then from there, it was a Russian roulette of like people, and like thankfully that we didn't lose as many guys as we could have, as injured as there was guys that maybe were a little injured from different stuff, but were still there. Think about Savage a lot. I mean, thankfully he was the only guy in our platoon that we lost. And I think we lost, obviously lost Sergeant Condi. I would knew him well, had plenty of conversation with him. I didn't know Morris too well because he was such a new guy. Knew Savage real well because we ended up being roommates in Okinawa. Knew him really well, and he was in my squad. Finding out he was killed, it was like I think that would hit the platoon pretty hard when we found out he was killed. And Riegelsberger was driving that vehicle that was hit, and he ended up going home, and it was just like, we can sit there and we can deal with it later. That's what we did. And we had to, and we had memorials, and then we had to move on. And then when we got back, then you can deal with it then. But it's like, you have to just fortunately keep going. That was kind of the name of the game,
Did you have a good luck charm?
Not really. I carried a Bible, remember we were going to March Air Force Base and those guys handing out little Bibles?
Yeah.
They're like, here you go. Here's a green little Bible. I still have them. I carried one in my pocket. And that was kind of like, I said a little prayer before each time we went out Hurricane Point and, prayed or whatever. And, thankfully, come back and, there was a couple point that came close a few times. I remember we're driving back somewhere on Michigan. There was a vehicle that was on the right-hand side of the barrier, and I knew it was a VBID. It was one of those orange, catchy-looking vehicles.
Orange and white Opals. Yep. They're everywhere.
Everywhere. And this one in particular was all blacked out in the back, right? It was all covered in the back, and knew exactly it was a VBID, but you didn't even think about it. And then we all get back into Hurricane Point and find out another platoon got hit by it. So it's like,
you called it in, but
yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? The best you can do. And it's go out there waiting. You get EOD to come out there and get the robotic.
What sucks about that one is I know that one got called in by a couple different platoons.
Yeah.
And it still got some people, but
yeah. So it's like, I think most of the part, I think we're all just kind of in survival mode. And then we're finally leaving Ramadi and doing that decompression we called it Junction City, but I think they call it Camp Ramadi, or called it Camp Ramadi.
They renamed it to Camp Ramadi shortly after. In 2005 is when they renamed it, but it was Junction City when we got there.
I was like, what is this Camp Ramadi thing?
Yeah.
Trying to find out it was Junction City.
Exact same thing.
And what's funny, because I worked with there's another sergeant that was there during our time, but he was with the Army. The time he was an engineer, he was an Army engineer, and we talked about our time in Ramadi and all that. And I think he's the only other person I know that was during that. All the other Marines that I work with were gotten out years prior to even when we came in, or I think we were in during a really weird period of history, especially with 9/11 and us going to Okinawa for 11 months, and all of a sudden we're going to Ramadi, and we weren't initially part of the push in Iraq, and we're like, what are we doing?
Did you get wounded over there?
I did it. I got just hearing. Luckily, that's another thing too. I don't know how I made out of it, especially the first time I was hit. But that IED, it missed me completely and hit Worth. I don't know. I've seen the photo. Just ears, and of course ears doesn't, I was luckily with physical wounds. Of course there's, anybody else has been over there, there's times that I, PTSD or whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
Anybody, right? That stuff's still around. But with physical wounds, it means some hearing. That could have been through mortars. That could have been through IEDs. It could have been a lot of stuff.
Any number of things. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, just driving those Humvees was loud.
Yeah.
And no one really ever talks about it, but we didn't have any hearing protection, really. No. That was never handed out in mass the way it is now, and it's a very big deal now. But every once in a while, somebody would stick a cigarette butt in their ear. Some people had some of those foam earplugs. Very rarely. You were lucky if you did.
Well, this whole 3M earplugs, I'm like, I don't ever remember seeing these 3M earring protection that this lawsuit, these yellow and black. I never ever remembered the 3M hearing lawsuit. It was just like that. It was earbuds, or it was just foamies, and that was it. And a lot of times you didn't wear, especially driving around, especially with you guys, being a sergeant, and Blake being a corporal, being team leaders, you had the IPACs on, where do you want to call those things? You had to hear. So having any kind of hearing protection too was almost impossible. I mean, what's it going to even do when you got hit? I mean, it didn't do anything. It doesn't protect your ears.
If you like what you've heard, this is a multi-part episode. Make sure you listen to the rest of the story.